Somebody will try to take from you, not with talent, not with effort, with shortcuts, with lies, with rule-breaking dressed up as business. It's inevitable. And the first time it happens, you learn something most men never recover from. Losing isn't what breaks you. Unfairness is. When a man beats you clean, you can respect the result. You study the loss, adjust, and move. But when a man wins by cheating, by smearing, by exploiting trust, by breaking the social contract, your mind goes to a darker place. You don't want improvement, you want blood. And that instinct makes sense. It's ancient, it's human. It's also a trap with a very modern price, because the moment you surrender your attention to revenge, you stop steering your own life. You start orbiting him. Today, the mission is simple. Cut the leash. Cut. Not because you're soft, not because you're moral, because you're strategic. And the highest form of revenge isn't a tantrum in the dark. It's building a life so strong, their betrayal becomes irrelevant. We're going to walk through the mechanics of revenge, why it eats the man who carries it, and what living well really means when you're still burning. Welcome back. We are back with another one. Make sure you hit that like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. All right, let's get into it. There's a loss that teaches you, and there's a loss that stains you. When you lose fair and square, the universe stays coherent. The rules held. Someone was better, faster, smarter, luckier. You can accept it. You can learn. You can go back to work. But betrayal isn't a loss. It's an insult to the structure. It tells you the game is rigged. That decency is weakness. That honesty is for fools. And if you're not careful, you'll take that message into every room you enter. That's how good men turn paranoid. That's how focused men become reactive. Your enemy doesn't have to destroy your body. He just has to infect your interpretation of reality. And the infection starts with one thought. I need to get him back. Hold this standard. Before you decide what to do, name what happened accurately. Was it a clean defeat or was it a rule break? If it was a clean defeat, take the lesson and move. If it was a rule break, you still haven't moved yet. You just classify it. You write it down. You keep your dignity intact. Because the first victory is not striking back, it's staying lucid. Right after you get crossed, your mind is not an advisor. It's a weapon system with faulty targeting, adrenaline, humiliation, rage. Your nervous system starts writing checks your future will have to pay. In that state, you don't want justice. You want relief. You want to feel power again. So you fantasize. The perfect speech, the perfect exposure, the perfect revenge. It's intoxicating. It's also useless. Revenge fantasies are a painkiller. They don't fix the injury. They just numb it with imagined dominance. And the more you use that drug, the more you need it. Most men think their anger is proof they're strong. It's often proof they've been captured. Here's the rule. Never make a revenge decision in the first 24 hours. Not one email. Not one call, not one public move. You don't need courage in that window. You need containment. Breathe, walk, train, sleep, reduce the chemical noise. Then reassess. A man who can delay his reaction can defeat people who are stronger than him simply because they fight on impulse. Revenge has a hidden cost. Attention. When you fixate on someone who wronged you, you donate your mind to them. You replay the scene, you rewrite the dialogue, you imagine the outcome where they finally understand what they did. Meanwhile, your own life sits unattended, like a vehicle idling in a hostile neighborhood. This is the part most men refuse to admit. Revenge often isn't about the enemy anymore. It's about your ego trying to restore its image. You want to feel untouchable again. You want to feel respected again. You want to feel like the story ends with you standing over them. So you keep feeding the loop, and the enemy becomes the center of your mental map, not your mission, not your craft, not your health, not your money, not your relationships. Him. That's not vengeance, that's servitude. Set this standard. Measure your attention. If you're thinking about him more than you're thinking about your own objectives, you've already lost. If you can't go 1 hour without replaying what happened, That's not processing. That's an occupation. The cleanest revenge begins with eviction. Remove him from your head. Even if you ignore morality, revenge is usually a bad investment. Because plotting requires stable conditions. It requires time, access, and predictable patterns. And life doesn't offer those luxuries. People move, priorities shift, new crises appear. The target changes jobs, cities, alliances. Your own life changes too. What felt urgent on day 1 becomes irrelevant on day 100. So the revenge plot doesn't mature into action. It turns into a slow burn of resentment, a man rehearsing a battle that will never happen. And there's another problem. The moment you become a man on revenge, your behavior changes. You telegraph, you leak emotion, you become readable. And readable men get handled. The mature approach is colder. You don't force circumstances into a revenge shape. You build your life. And if the world later hands you an opening, you decide then. Not from obsession, from position. Hold this standard. Do not chase revenge. Build leverage. If an opportunity arrives where you can return pressure with minimal risk and maximal effect, you'll see it clearly because your mind is not drunk on vengeance. The man who waits isn't passive. He's armed and quiet. When people say, living well is the best revenge, most men hear weakness. They hear surrender dressed up as virtue. But the phrase isn't moral advice, it's a strategy. Living well means redirecting the same energy you were about to waste on destruction into construction. It means turning humiliation into discipline, betrayal into precision, rage into output. Because your enemy doesn't fear your anger. He fears your progress. If he crossed you, he likely assumed you'd react, that you'd spiral, that you'd become unstable, that you'd ruin your own reputation chasing him. So when you get quieter, sharper, more productive, it creates a different kind of punishment. He doesn't get your breakdown. He gets your ascent. Set this standard. Make your next 30 days a counterstrike against your old self. Train more, work cleaner, make money with less noise, build competence that does not require his acknowledgement, and do something even harder. Stop telling people how wrong you were treated. Most men use sympathy as a substitute for action. They want witnesses to their pain. They want a jury. You don't need a jury. You need results. I've watched this pattern up close. A man gets offended. Not injured, offended. His ego takes a hit and he decides he's going to correct reality by force. So he starts a campaign, smears, schemes, exposures. Little operations meant to embarrass someone else. He calls it justice, but it's really compulsion. And here's the tragedy. Revenge makes him feel active while he's actually stuck. I've seen a creator do this publicly. One comment bruised his image and he turned it into a personal war. He tried to hurt people's reputations, livelihoods, and safety. He escalated because escalation gave him the only thing he still had, the sensation of control. It didn't work. It never works long term. The more he pushed, the more foolish he looked. His audience saw the obsession. The allies he tried to recruit felt desperate. His targets didn't even have to attack him. He performed his own collapse in front of everyone. That's the real punchline of revenge. You think you're punishing them, but you're training the world to see you as unstable. And once people label you unstable, your power evaporates. Hold this standard. Never let the injury write your identity. The moment your personality becomes the man who was wronged, you are finished. You become predictable. You become reactive. You become easy to play. The man who wronged you doesn't deserve that kind of influence. There's a phenomenon most men notice, but few can explain. When someone plays dirty, the world tends to catch up with them. Call it karma if you want. Call it second-order consequences. Call it probability. Liars create enemies. Cheaters leave fingerprints. The shortcuts they use become the habits that ruin them. And often, if you keep your composure, life hands you a moment, not the moment you fantasized about. A better one. You meet someone who knows what they did. You see their credibility cracking. You witness them overreach. You hear a door open that wasn't open before. And in that moment, you don't need an elaborate revenge plot. You just need clarity and nerve. Sometimes the right move is to do nothing and let them keep stepping on rakes. Sometimes the right move is a single clean action, a refusal, a withdrawal, a truth stated once, a boundary enforced with no emotion. This is the difference between an amateur and a dangerous man. The amateur pursues revenge. The dangerous man stays ready for opportunity. Set this standard. Stay in shape. Stay solvent. Stay mentally quiet. Keep receipts when it's appropriate. Build alliances without gossip. If the opening comes, you act from strength, not from hunger, because hunger makes you reckless. Revenge feels like strength because it gives pain a direction, but direction is not destiny. If you let revenge run your mind, you will pay twice, once for what they did to you, and again for what you do to yourself afterward. That's the oldest trap in the book. You don't need to forgive. You don't need to forget. You need to regain command. Classify the event. Contain the first 24 hours. Evict them from your attention. Stop writing fantasy scripts. Build your life so hard it makes their behavior irrelevant. Stay ready for opportunity, but never become a man who lives for payback. That's the foundation. But knowing the principle isn't enough. In the next video, we go to war with execution. When silence is a weapon, when time is a blade, and when the only acceptable revenge is the kind that ends the conflict permanently. Once again, I appreciate you for sticking to the end. Make sure you hit that like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you on the next one.